Jamsheed Choksy, professor of Central Eurasian International and Islamic Studies and former director of the Middle Eastern Studies program at Indiana University. Welcome to Newsmax TV, Professor.
Thank you so much.
The pace of U.S. and allied airstrikes in Libya is expected to slow in the next few days, according to U.S. Defense Secretary Robert Gates. Should the West take Gadhafi out, and in your view, is it a vital U.S. interest?
Should the West take Gadhafi out? Probably we should not be doing it. We should let the rebels do it. It is always better if a people oust their own leader as opposed to outsiders ousting a leader. What we should be doing is supporting the rebels, and in fact, we have sort of, shall we say, gotten into the game a little too late. The rebels had control of most of the country. We let Gadhafi push them back. Now we are trying to reverse the process. It may or may not be successful. Certainly, if we slow down the pace, and we are slowing down the pace of the no-fly zone and airstrikes in part because of disagreement with the Arab League, in part because of disagreement within NATO as to who's to actually run this operation. But if it does slow down, Gadhafi may very well regain his momentum.
What happens if Gadhafi stays in power?
That is an unknown, but there are several very distinct dangers. One, weapons of mass destruction. Gadhafi agreed with the U.S. in 2003 to give up his WMDs. The U.S. took charge of Libya's uranium hexafluoride and of the nuclear plant plans, prototypes, and all the rest. Gadhafi then joined the Chemical Weapons Convention in 2004. At that point, he declared that he had 24 metric tons of mustard gas, about half of which have been destroyed. Some of it may have degraded, but there's still quite a bit he has on hand. And the current fear has been he would use this against the rebel troops if he had to. He also has several thousand metric tons of chemicals that are precursors to substances like nerve gas. So the danger is if he were to return or remain in power, he would probably return to developing weapons of mass destruction, namely atom bombs, biological and chemical weapons. And the question then is how and where and if he would use them. That's one danger. The second danger is terrorism. We all know Gadhafi has sponsored terrorism before. The Pan Am flight over Lockerbie that he was involved in bombing. There was a UTA French flight over the Sahara. There was the bombing of a nightclub in Berlin, all of which lead right back to Gadhafi. Gadhafi has planned and tried on occasion to assassinate other Middle Eastern and African leaders. So right now, he has nothing to lose by returning to his old ways. That's the grave danger.
All right, Pan Am, of course, the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland in 1988. How big of a threat is Gadhafi to anyone but his own people?
Well, if these instances, the bombings, the attempts at assassinating foreign leaders, shall we say, that was before the world was actively attempting to oust him. Since that time, and given the most recent incidents, it would appear that he is probably even more unstable than he has been, and I'm not referring to just politically unstable, that he's not quite in touch with reality. So there's a grave danger that he may, in fact, be tempted to use these either on his own people or to begin to be adventurous again abroad. So certainly, the gravest danger is to his own people, and in a sense, the West could take the attitude of, well, that's an internal issue. But there is this larger external problem that Gadhafi has posed in the past and is likely to pose in the future. It's very interesting, the last few days, Gadhafi, on the one hand, has said he's fighting terrorists, but he's also made it very clear that he would no longer object to joining Al-Qaeda in waging jihad, a holy war against the West.
From what you know of the whole region, is a regional war in the Middle East and North Africa inevitable?
Inevitable? No. Possible? Yes. It may be one that breaks out with Gadhafi regaining power and then attempting to take vengeance against his rivals, for example, the Egyptian army, which right now is helping funnel weapons to the rebels who are fighting Gadhafi.
You mentioned Gadhafi's duplicity. From what you know about him, Is he mentally stable?
Well, that's a good question. Certainly by our measures, not. But we have noticed this over the years, this, shall we say, increasing slippage between him and reality. And certainly in the most recent set of events in Libya, one sees that with him. The equally troubling aspect is that we have statements coming out by his various family members, including a son of his who it appeared to the West hitherto was going to be not just his successor, but make a transition to democratic governance. Even that individual, Saif al-Islam, his son, has gone back to this notion of destroying everyone in their path. So it would seem that even if they are mentally stable, that they certainly are not the sort of individuals who should be running any country ever.
Professor Jamsheed Choksy, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.